Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Howlin with the Huskies, live from the Steakhouse of Helena. We want to thank them for allowing us to be here each and every Tuesday night to keep you up to date with what is going on with Helena High School athletics. Caleb Brooks, joined by head football coach, Coach Richie Busby, and Coach, you guys now fresh off of a homecoming win Friday night. It didn't come easy. It was a tough ball game again for your team, but just like the last couple of weeks, your guys showed a lot of resiliency and were able to pull it out and get a big win on homecoming night.
Yeah, 3 straight weeks of, nail biters down to the wire, and kind of figured that would happen this week with it, or last week with it being homecoming. Last year we beat Chilton County 48-41 on homecoming. It just seems to be a huge distraction, which it is everywhere, I'm sure. Like I said after the game on our radio, it's just I hate homecoming. Not the aspect of homecoming, but having to play a football game on Friday night when that's been going on all week. It's just very hard for the players to, have all that emotion during the week, whatever they're out doing at night or celebrating, and then they've got to, have the, the discipline to slow down a little bit towards the end of the week and get ready to play football. And some of them do, some of them do what you ask them to do. Come Thursday night or Thursday afternoon, they start slowing down, stay at home, take care of themselves, eat a good dinner, but some of them don't. So, but not to take anything away from Jackson-Olin. We knew going in that Jackson-Olin's defensive front was the best we'd seen all year. And, I remember, 2 Sundays ago asking Coach Elgin, can you hold them under 14? Because I'm not sure we can get more than 17 against them. And they did. They had the kick return, so they really held them to 6. But, I knew points were going to be at a premium. And when your front 7 is as good as theirs are, when the field shrinks, we were in the red zone 5 times. And kick 4 field goals. When that shrinks, it becomes harder to move the ball. And don't take anything away from their defense. They were really good up front.
They've had some issues scoring points all year. When you look at their games, it took, they had to hold Pelham to 10 points in order to win that one. They had to hold Parker to 7 and actually had probably one of their best offensive nights against them. What is it that's causing them issues offensively that y'all were able to take advantage of defensively?
Well, I think, from our standpoint at our game, Pelham was first game of the year, and then Parker was maybe second or third game of the year for them. I think their issue at this point in the season is their depth. They're having to play a lot of kids both ways, especially their skill kids. And I even noticed one of their defensive linemen playing some on offense in certain packages. So I really just think with them, it's just, it's their depth issue, and with them getting tired, I think that's their problem. Defensively, they have no issues. Their front 7, their Mike Backer was out, which helped us tremendously. We're playing without players too, but their front 4 is as good as we'll see. One of those guys plays both ways, plays guard and defensive tackle. So anytime, any level, when you're playing up front on both sides of the ball, it's difficult, but it's even more difficult as you climb in classifications.
When you look at the last couple of weeks, what has this really shown you about your group? 2 overtime wins and then a 3-point win here. While they haven't just dominated every game, they've found ways to win outside of the Buckhorn game. What has it really shown you and told you about this group?
Well, I think it's a group that kind of, is feeding off the groups before them. It's like we talked about. I can't put my finger on why we have the ability to come back. I would like to think it's our strength program and our, our conditioning and all that. But, take that aside, it still comes down to what's inside the player. No matter how strong you are, how fast you are, how much you've ran, if you don't have the belief in you that you're never out of a game, then that stuff doesn't really matter. I think our kids are accustomed to it. And, I know some of our fans get frustrated sometimes because we're in such close games. But, since we've been here, our philosophy is to play really good defense, run the football, wear on the other team's defense, and in late in games, when those 3, 4, 5-yard carries start turning into 7, 8, 9, 10-yard carries, that's just kind of how we're built. And that's our philosophy. It may not be the right one, but you got to have one. And that's kind of what we've hung our hat on. What we have been able to do a little bit more this year is put the ball in the air. We've got some weapons out, in the slot with Hunter Hale and out wide with Torrey Ward. We've got, those guys there now. Hopefully Jordan's coming back healthy. AJ's been playing with a banged-up thigh. So hopefully some of those guys are getting healthy, and maybe in a couple of weeks we'll have JT Alvis back in the secondary. And then maybe everybody else stay healthy. This off week's going to come at a really good time for us. And it's probably going to be needed after playing. This is going to be a physical game. Friday night, and our defense is going to continue to play well and limit their points. And then offensively, we're going to take advantage of when we do get in the red zone of scoring touchdowns and not relying on field goals.
Obviously, they have a really good guy at quarterback. You guys have already seen a couple of good quarterbacks this year. What are some of the similarities and some of the differences between Briarwood's guy and Homewood's guy, who, people would argue are probably the two best in this region?
Yeah, I think it just depends on when you watch them. I mean, I've talked to several coaches throughout Birmingham, and some nights they're like, Coach, when we played Homewood, we thought, he might have, been the same caliber player, and I think he has those abilities. I think Chris is a little taller. I don't know if he has the same. They list him at 6'4", 200. He's bigger than 200 pounds. They're having to run him a lot this year, and of course he's throwing the ball. I mean, he is doing a really good job in all aspects of the game, and he carries himself like a Division I quarterback, much like the guy at Homewood does. And we knew going into the Homewood game that we had to stop their quarterback, and we couldn't do it. He had over 300 yards, all-purpose yards, and they're Division I prospects and commitments for a reason. Those guys that make a lot of money at that next level, they know what a good player looks like, and he definitely fits that bill.
What does he do really well as a quarterback? Like when you watch him on film, what makes you watch and go, that's a five-star player right there?
Well, I think his poise is really good. I mean, he carries himself like a five-star quarterback. I mean, things may go bad, but he really does a good job of keeping his emotions in check, take away all his physical skills. I mean, he runs the ball, he's physical, he can run the option, he can run the RPO, he can beat you over the top. He can run quarterback power. He can pretty much do anything that you need a quarterback to do, but I think the thing that impresses me the most is just his poise. And if you look back on the year they had last year and a lot that was around him last year, I know they've got a lot of new guys in different positions, but it doesn't look like on film that's ever frustrated him. And they've gotten better each and every week, but that's hard for a high school quarterback, for you to never see that emotion in a negative way. And I think that's what impresses me the most, is just about, his stability and his maturity, and, carrying himself like a player when things are bad. You can't tell what's going on in the game by his body language and his demeanor, and that says a lot.
Pelham played them right before you guys played Pelham. So the week that you were preparing for Pelham, was there already some study of Briarwood going on and looking at them and getting some things jotted down about them?
No. When we play Pelham, we worry about Pelham. It's so big. I mean, obviously we're keeping up with what's going on, but we weren't out trying to get film on Briarwood when we were playing Pelham. We're just not good enough to do that. We got to focus on who we got to play. Now, obviously, we've gotten some films on Briarwood with the exchanges within the region, and sometimes you don't want to watch a horror movie. When you turn him on, it kind of scares you, so you kind of want to wait till it's time to see that, and you have to see it. So we know it's going to be a challenge, and going over there and playing in their stadium and their tradition, all those kids on that team have grown up being Briarwood Lions, and it means a lot to them, and hopefully we can match that with our kids that have grown up being Helena Huskies. And we're looking forward to the challenge. This should be a great high school football game regardless of the way it comes out. And our region is kind of still up in the air. I mean, Homewood's sitting there obviously in the driver's seat, but one or two Friday nights between now and the end of the season could really throw this thing into a tailspin. So, right now we're playing, in my eyes, we're playing anywhere from region champs to being in the playoffs or out. I think that's how tied up our region's at. And we did start looking at some schedules today of some other teams and who they play and how this thing could kind of shake out. And after looking at it for 30 minutes, I said, we're wasting our time. I mean, everybody's kind of wadded up, and until we have another week or two, I don't know that you're going to be able to figure out, what could happen.
When you look at this Briarwood team, at times they've kind of been up and down on both sides of the ball. They've had games where they didn't score any points and play good on defense. They've had some games where they weren't able to play great defense, but were able to score points and score enough to win. Where do you feel like y'all are going to be able to take advantage of this group on Friday night to be able to put some points up and to be able to try to get out to a lead against them?
Well, I think with them, the reason you're seeing that, and as far as us watching film on them and just seeing it from, somebody that's not watching film on them, they're replacing some really good players. And I still, like a good coaching staff does, I think they're still trying to figure out who can do what. And you can see in their offense throughout this year, they're cutting some things out and sticking to some things they do really good. I think they're a very good screen team. offensively, and with Chris running the ball, he can do so many things. He's so big and physical. They could line up and run him 40 times off tackle, and it would be, it might be a long night for us. I mean, he's as big as any defensive player we have. So, I've seen that. And defensively, what you notice about them, I told our kids today, they really remind me of a UMS Wright. When the play ends, you're always going to see 8 or 9 gold helmets around the ball. And what I remember by watching UMS Wright the last 2 years, you're going to see 8, 9, 10 maroon hats at the ball every time it's tackled. And, that's something that we need to do a better job of. So, I think really some of their inconsistency has been from inexperience and the coaches doing their job and trying to move guys and getting them in a position to be successful.
Going on the road, first time in a couple of weeks for you guys, is there any concern there with just, getting back in that routine of going on the road? And it's not a long trip, it's a short trip, so how you kind of handle the bus ride, just that type of stuff?
Well, I'm always honest with y'all. My biggest concern is our 4 school buses getting back from their routes to take us over there, because that road's going to be packed Friday night. You got Oak Mountain. I think they play Tuscaloosa County, which is, maybe 2 miles down from Briarwood Stadium. And then over on the other road, 119 Valladale, whichever one's which, you've got Spain Parks at home against somebody. So my biggest concern before the game is, are we prepared? And second, are our 4 school buses going to be able to get their routes ran and get back and get us on the road by 4:15?
When you look at this game, and you talked about what it can mean for the region, that type of stuff, but how important is this game? And for you guys, even if you don't win the region, hosting a playoff game and getting that 2 seed as well?
Well, you're correct. I think this game puts you in position that you're in. It still doesn't solidify your position, and it still doesn't shoot you out of hosting a playoff game either. That's the thing that's unique about our region this week, and that's what I really mean by week to week. I think we win this game, we're in. But if we lose it and we can win the next 2, we may be right back where we're, so I don't know really how to answer that. I can just tell you the next 3 weeks are all equally valuable. And, we got to start with this week and take care of this one. And, the off week next week, hopefully it's going to give us a chance to get some guys back, healthy, and the ones that, they're out, hopefully we get them back.
What are your biggest keys for this week and Helena being able to go in and get a big region win?
Well, I think, defensively, first of all, I think we've got to limit him a little bit. We can't let him have the game of the year on throwing the ball and running it. We got to figure out what we can do. Can we stop the run, early? He's going to get his yards in the passing game. I mean, he's special. He can spin it. He can make all the throws. We're going to just limit their opportunities, and with that being said, we can't make mistakes in the special team, stuff we've talked about before. I think this is one of those games that will be decided by possibly a kick or errors in the kicking game and turnovers. And with us, it's always going to be whether we can establish the run game up front. I feel like we have a good game plan as of the end of the day, and can we make adjustments in the game? I mean, they got one of the best coaching staffs in the state that have been together for many, many years, so they're going to make adjustments. And can our kids stay in mentally in the game and allow us to make those adjustments that we're going to have to make? I don't know if a crowd will be an issue. I expect we'll have the same. Our people are going to travel Friday night, so I'm looking forward to it. Should just be a great high school football game. With 2 great high schools. Coaching staff on that other side that I really respect, and should be a lot of fun.
Coach, really appreciate you taking the time again this week to join us here on Howlin with the Huskies. Big-time matchup coming up this Friday night at Briarwood, 7 p.m. kickoff. Good luck to you guys, and really look forward to seeing how things go Friday.
Thank you, Caleb. Go Huskies.
We'll be back with more here on Howlin with the Huskies right after this.
The Steakhouse of Helena is the place for community gatherings, rich history, and delectable, made-from-scratch meals. Our professional staff is dedicated to serving you with the best steaks, chops, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and more. You'll enjoy a welcoming community atmosphere, local history, and enjoyable dishes you won't find anywhere else. Our restaurant is perfect for the entire family, business events, and special occasions. So come on down to the Steakhouse in historic Old Town Helena.
Welcome back in. Howlin with the Huskies. Caleb Brooks now joined by head cross-country coach, Coach Marie Day. And, Coach, cross-country is a very grueling sport. It is tough on all these athletes. It's long runs, and you have to train long in order to be able to run long. And so the practice itself are a lot on these kids' bodies. The recovery becomes really important as the season goes on. And so tell us a little bit about your group this year, how you felt about how they've handled all that, and what they've kind of done up to this point.
Right. So cross country, one thing that a lot of people, realize when they join the team is that nothing about cross country is pleasant during the race. So it's learning how our bodies get used to that feeling, what it feels like to keep a race pace, and how to keep that for the duration of the 5K of the race pace. So we have, a great workout plan set up each week, and we have a new team this year. We have a lot of freshmen, so really just teaching them what it is like. It jumps from 2 miles to a 5K at the high school level, so teaching them what that feels like and how to adjust our bodies to feel that race pace during the whole race. And so they've been adjusting well. It's a huge change for them. We had a great meet this past week. Lots of PRs were set. And so we have a long way to go, but I'm pleased with the progress that we've been making so far.
You talk about having a young group, a lot of freshmen, things like that. How important is experience when it comes to cross country? And, you talk about going from 2 miles to a 5K, and then just the experience of knowing what to do to recover and knowing what, the mental toughness that it takes to get through that. And obviously that comes as you get older. I mean, you can develop that better. And so when you have a young group like this, what are some of the difficulties of going through all that with them?
Absolutely. So, a lot of people think cross country just is going out and running, but there is strategy to it. And so the hard thing with the new people is I'm not quite there yet on teaching them what a race strategy is, because we're still working on getting in shape and being able to build the endurance part of it. So I'm optimistic that we'll be able to get there before the season ends. Right now with these new kids, we're still learning to finish the race, and we're not quite there on getting that, strategy in yet.
When you look at this team this year, just tell me about some of the people that have kind of stood out and some of the people that have helped kind of lead this group so far this year.
Absolutely. So we have a great group of juniors and seniors this year. Some of our seniors this year, we have Caden Blackman. He got 3rd place this weekend, actually, at the Shelby County Championship. And so he's looking at some colleges, and he's really stood out and has been a great leader to the younger kids. Braden Birch has also been an outstanding leader. He's also looking at some colleges as well, so that's really exciting. As far as the girls go, Abigail Corey is a junior, and she's really taken the freshmen under her wing and have been motivating them, when it gets tough. We're still learning, those new kids, what pain is like and the difference between pain and injury. So she's a great encourager for those freshmen to tell them to keep on going and not to give up. Yeah.
How important is that aspect of it? The communication of the encouragement, and teammates having each other's backs, talking to each other, and kind of being there for each other when, there's times where it gets tough when you're out there running and your body just doesn't want to cooperate all the way.
That's what makes a team, I really think. There's several times throughout a race where you are thinking in your brain, why am I doing this? I want to quit. I want to give up. Because it is not pleasant. But, nothing makes up for that feeling that you get at the end of a race where you're proud of yourself for accomplishing what you did. But to get there, that encouragement really builds the team up, and that makes the team. We've been having a really big focus this year on team, bonding and being there for the team rather than just yourself, and I think that's made a big difference too.
So you guys had a meet this past weekend. Kind of tell us what's now ahead for you guys and when we kind of get to the state stuff and all that as well.
Absolutely. So we're off this weekend, but the next weekend is our home meet, the Helena Invitational. So we're just trying to get everything set up for that, mapping out the course and everything. Then after that, we're going to be at Trussville for the Husky Challenge. And then after that, we go straight into sectionals into the state meet. So the first Saturday in November is the state meet.
Okay, awesome. So, you got the home meet that's coming up. How much of an advantage is it when you are at home and it is a course that you practice on, you run on, and other teams coming in haven't been on that before?
Right. It is a huge advantage, especially because our course is pretty hilly. So a lot of schools come in not expecting that, whereas we know that because we've been running the course. That really throws the other teams for a whirlwind, and they realize how hilly it is. And so we generally do very well at the Helena Invitational.
Does it create an advantage in the sense of knowing when you can kind of increase your pace, when you need to kind of decrease your pace, and just that type of stuff?
Absolutely, because we're getting we're able to practice on that course, so we can run it, and so they know, okay, at this point, this is when I am going to, speed up a little. This is where I'm going to set back a little bit. We don't get that advantage at, other courses. So it does help a lot.
About a month out, about 5 weeks really out from the state meet. So what improvements are you wanting to see with this team, and what are going to be some of the things that y'all are working on the most over the next couple of weeks preparing for that state meet at the end?
Really the main things that I want us to work on are race strategy, developing that strategy for the younger kids, and then learning how to run, with better endurance. Don't hold back in times when you think that when you know that you should go out there and, it's just really hard, especially in that middle part of the race. That's where you really are just mentally, it's tough. And so learning, to fight through that and keep going and push it, and run with more strength and more power. We've been doing a lot of CrossFit over the summer to learn the strength in our bodies to run with power. And I think we're going to start reaping the benefits from that towards the end of the season.
Awesome. Well, Coach, really appreciate you taking the time to join us here tonight on Howlin with the Huskies. And good luck to you all here as you host the meet here in a couple of weeks. And really look forward to seeing how things go in about 5 weeks as you guys head out to the state meet and try to go win the state championship.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We'll be back with more here on Howlin with the Huskies right after this.
The Steakhouse of Helena is the place for community gatherings, rich history, and delectable, made-from-scratch meals. Our professional staff is dedicated to serving you with the best steaks, chops, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and more. You'll enjoy a welcoming community atmosphere, local history, and enjoyable dishes you won't find anywhere else. Our restaurant is perfect for the entire family, business events, and special occasions. So come on down to the Steakhouse in historic Old Town Helena.
Welcome back in. Howlin with the Huskies live from the Steakhouse in Helena. Appreciate them allowing us to be here each and every Tuesday to keep you up to date with what is going on with Helena Athletics. Kayla Brooks now joined by Abigail Corey, junior member of the cross-country team at Helena High School. And, Abigail, for y'all, you look at this season, and it's like I was telling your coach, it can get really, really long and grueling on your body. I mean, it's a lot of long running days, and obviously your body gets used to it, but, it has to get to a point. I've talked to a lot of runners over the years that talk about how during the middle of the year, some days your body cooperates, some days it's not there, and you're not feeling it. And so y'all are kind of getting to that point in the season now. Your experience, you've been doing this for a while now, so kind of tell us about how you've been handling that part of everything and being right here kind of at the middle part of y'all's year.
Yeah, I think a big thing is definitely recovery days are very important. I try to take 1-2 recovery days a week where I just don't run. I lie in bed, eat a lot of food. But yeah, also just knowing your body during workouts. Not every workout has to be perfect, and so if you feel that your stomach's hurting or you have a headache or you're just not feeling it, I think it's really a sign of a good experienced runner to know your body and know when to push yourself and when to hold back.
As you've gotten older, how much better have you gotten with the preparation for a race as well? What to eat, how much to eat, how much to drink and hydrate. You don't want to overhydrate, that part of everything.
Yeah, I've definitely learned that carb loading is a real thing. I run so much better when I have a good meal the night before, and I always have oatmeal in the morning, not too heavy, not too light, just the perfect amount. But yeah, and then even just getting in that good mental mindset, just knowing not to be too worried about it, because we just need to trust our training and know that we worked so hard, and when we get to these races, we just need to kind of let go and have fun.
You talk about the mental part of everything, and how important is that in a year to be mentally strong and to not let some of the, your coach kind of talked about battling with some of the younger kids on what injury is and then what, just some pain is and stuff. And so how important is the mental part of being able to push through some of that pain and the days that we were talking about, where your body's just not cooperating as much?
Yeah, the mental struggle is real. It's really important to know when you're training and when you're even in the middle of the race, I've not run one race where I've not thought halfway through, I'm gonna twist my ankle, I'm just gonna fall over. But it's really just finding that fifth gear and pushing through that really, gets you to that finish line. And at the end of the day, the races that are mentally the toughest, when you finish, feel the best. So you just have to know that.
Coach Dave was talking about a young group, a lot of freshmen, things like that. When you think back to when you were a freshman, how much have you been able to kind of talk with some of them and help some of them now throughout the year with a lot of those things that we've talked about?
Yeah, I think just being really encouraging is a really big thing. When I was a freshman, I had a good group of 4 or 5 junior girls who were really mentors to me, and they showed me how to pace, how to run, and they were even just there for me in school. Like, they saw me in the hallways, we ate lunch together, and just having that really pushed me to keep doing it, because there are some days where you want to quit, but at the end of the day, it's really the people that keep me coming back. So, yeah.
You guys had a meet this past weekend. Kind of tell me your thoughts on that and how you felt about how y'all did as a team and how you felt you did individually as well.
Yeah, I think it was a really good race for our team. We had a lot of PRs. I PR'd by 52 seconds. I ran a 22:35, which is a huge breakthrough for me. I've been trying to break 23 for like so long. So yeah, that really just encouraged me. I was really tired and kind of not in a great mental place going into that race because I had the homecoming game the night before and I was just up late, really tired. But, you know, I got on that line and I just pushed through. I got into that 5th gear and I ended up running like the best race I've ever run. So, yeah.
That's got to be a tough thing to balance, too. You know, you want to go to the football game on Friday night and go do all that stuff, but you know you have a race the next day. And so what's probably the hardest part of balancing those type of things? You
know, I think running in my sport is very important to me, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's really important to me to be a teenager and to be happy over committing all of myself to my sport. I definitely give a lot to my sport, but if I don't enjoy it, then what's the point of doing it? So I don't want it to ever feel like a burden for me. So I do go to football games and volleyball games and hang out with my friends before a race, and yeah, I just give it my all at practice and during the races, and yeah, try to find that balance.
Kind of describe for me that sense of accomplishment when you finish a race and you get done, and then especially like this past weekend where you set a personal record, not only set one, but you break it by almost a whole entire minute as well.
Yeah, you know, it's the best feeling in the world. That is really what keeps me coming back. You know, when I'm in the middle of the race and I'm dying and every part of me hurts, I just think the faster I get to that finish line, the more happy I'm going to be. And at the end of the day, it's going to hurt if you run slow and it's going to hurt if you run fast. You might as well push through and run fast.
You guys are going to host here in a couple of weeks, and I talked with your coach a little bit about, you know, the advantages that you have of hosting and stuff, and how much are you looking forward to hosting a race at a place where you get to run all the time and you do feel like going in, you know, that's got to add some confidence going in that you know how that course is going to be over a lot of other people there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I'm super excited to have the opportunity to run the course multiple times. Like these next 2 weeks, I'll be running the course every single day, so I'll know every route, every hole. I'll know when to push myself, like Coach Day said. And, yeah, I think it's going to be a good race. We have a good opportunity to place really well, so I'm excited about that.
About 5 weeks from now, you guys will be going to the state meet. And so where do you want to improve the most up to that point, and where do you feel like this team needs to improve the most to that point?
Yeah, you know, I think we have a really good team right now, but I do think we need to figure out our race strategy a little bit. I'm a junior. I've been running for 4 years, and I'm still figuring out my race strategy. And I think especially for some of these younger girls, figuring out that race strategy is really important. Like when to push yourself, go out fast but not too fast, when to hold back, when to, you know, really push that 5th gear. So I think that'll be really important because that can really make or break a race.
Awesome. Well, listen, Abigail, really appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Howlin with the Huskies. And good luck to you guys going forward the rest of this year. Looking forward to seeing how things go for y'all.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more here on Howlin with the Huskies right after this.
The Steakhouse of Helena is the place for community gatherings, rich history, and delectable, made-from-scratch meals. Our professional staff is dedicated to serving you with the best steaks, chops, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and more. You'll enjoy a welcoming community atmosphere, local history, and enjoyable dishes you won't find anywhere else. Our restaurant is perfect for the entire family, business events, and special occasions. So come on down to the Steakhouse in historic Old Town Helena.
Welcome back in. Howlin with the Huskies, live from the Steakhouse in Helena. Caleb Brooks now joined by senior cross-country member Braden Birch. And Braden, you know, you're now a veteran when it comes to running races and doing all this stuff. And when you look at your experience, how much is it really paying off for you now here when your senior years come around?
Well, to be honest with you, when I started running cross country as a freshman, I really didn't know what I was doing. My main sport was actually wrestling, and I was just doing it to stay in shape, but I ended up falling in love with running. And just, you know, looking back on my races then and races now, like I apply what I've learned to every race to the next one. And I used to go out there just thinking I was Lightning McQueen, and now I go out and I try to do a little better than just running as fast as I can all the time. Because there's a little bit of strategy that goes into racing, like Abigail and Coach was talking about. Pacing is really important, and that's something you learn with time as you go through more and more races, and that's just something that I've learned over 4 years of running. Pacing's important, and you got to apply it to your races, or you're going to end up burning out pretty quick.
Talked about wrestling. So you know, even before you got into this, you had been doing a sport that takes a lot of mental toughness and getting through stuff mentally. How much did that help you getting into cross country?
We run some tough courses, and my wrestling experience definitely translated to running because it just one course we really run, Spain Park. It's a real tough course. It's gravel. We usually run it early in the season when it's real hot and there's just big hills on it, and it's a hard course. Everybody usually runs a minute slower than what they can on that course. And my freshman year when I ran that course, I beat the guys that were beating me by 2 or 3 minutes on that course my freshman year. And so wrestling, and that was when I was fresh off of wrestling, just really started getting into running, and it really did translate. And even now, I still lean back in on that mental toughness that I developed. Because that's important. I mean, you're running 3 miles as hard as you can at under 6-minute mile pace. Like that's pushing your body and that's pushing your mind. And it's a two-part thing you got to go with there. So.
You still wrestling?
No, sir. I just run. I'm a full-time runner, and yeah, that's it. That's
What kind of helped you make that decision?
Well, my sophomore year, Coach Richard Anderson, he just really developed me. That year, I got really good. I dropped my time a whole 2 minutes my sophomore year and went from running low 19s to 17s, and I realized that I could really go somewhere for this, and so I committed to running, and that made my choice, and I plan to run next year at college. So.
Awesome, man.
Yes, sir.
When you look at all this, kind of compare the two, from when you were wrestling and you won a wrestling match to then when you run in this and you break a personal record, you do something like that. What are some of the similarities of the two?
I'll tell you, when you finish a wrestling match, especially going into overtime into a wrestling match, which I don't know why, I just happen to do a lot, but coming out of that and coming out of a cross country is a very similar feeling. I mean, you know that you pushed your body and you gave 110%, and that's just something I love about the sport of cross country is you gave 110%, you left it all on the course, and there's no doubt about that at the end of every single race. And if you're pushing yourself and at the end of the race you're tired and you don't even want to stand up, you did your job out there on the course.
Where has committing all your time to cross country and not doing wrestling anymore and all that, where has it probably benefited you the most in your mind?
Well, it's brought a lot of discipline to my life. Just making myself go run when I don't feel like it, and a lot of leadership, to be honest with you. Just helping the underclassmen run when they don't want to, pushing my teammates like Drew Cook, one of the guys on my team. He's a junior actually. He really inspired me to start working as hard as I do. Because I just saw the improvement and the love he gained for running through that hard work. And, once I saw all that, I started doing the same. And that's when I really fell in love with running and wanted to go running at the next level. And just discipline and leadership is where that's come from, how that's benefited me.
You look at, wrestling, you're cutting weight, you're doing all that stuff, and then going out there doing a wrestling match. And with this, obviously, you're not trying to cut weight, you're not trying to do all that, and so what are some of the differences of the two with, how you feel your body and the stuff that you do leading up to both of them?
Well, I can eat a lot more. That's one reason I quit wrestling. I do love the food that I get. I do love the food that I get to eat. And another thing is, I'm running with my teammates. When you get on a wrestling match, you're on the mat by yourself. But when I go out and I start a race, when that gun goes off, I'm running with 6 of my brothers, 6 of the people that, I love. Those are my guys. And running with them, it helps me run faster. It helps me run harder for them. And as well as, I get to hunt during deer season because wrestling's a winter sport, so I get to do that. But just running to me it gave me more opportunities to do more things that I love and play a sport that I love at the same time. So.
Tell me a little bit more about that team aspect. When you guys are out there on the course together, you're running, you can tell when a teammate's maybe starting to, fatigue a little bit and doesn't have as much in them. How important is that encouragement and that talking to each other and that brotherhood that you guys have out there?
So our top 4 and our top 5 really are kind of spread out during a race, but, so we don't get to communicate and encourage each other as much. But the teammates that aren't running when we are really help. Like when I see my teammates running, or teammates running around the course on the outside and cheering for me and my other teammates, it makes me want to go faster. Really, I would say the communication and talking to one another happens during workouts when we're all tired. It's after a long school day or an early morning before school and we're all tired. We don't really necessarily all the time want to be at practice, but, having your guys there to push you to run hard, to push you to make yourself better is such a good thing to have. And that's something, going back to wrestling, you don't hear anything. I never heard anything personally going into a wrestling match, but I hear people talking to me when I'm running, and I hear cheering, and I hear encouragement, and it makes me want to go harder. And that's just the team aspect. A lot of people think it's just you running, but really the team aspect of cross country is a huge thing. It really helps you make you get better.
Said that you have aspirations to go and run in college and stuff, and so what is kind of the process of that? How do you get seen with cross country and get found by coaches? Do you have to send film in? I mean, what are some of the things that you have to do?
Really, just kind of get your times out there, make sure they're seen. I mean, coaches will scroll through AL Mile Split looking for the top runners, and a smaller junior college at Marion Military has offered me to run for them. And Coach Ballantyne, he reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, I'm interested in you wanting to run for me. I've seen your times. I like your and he came to watch me run a couple times too, and he said he enjoyed it, and he just reached out to me. And a lot of times, I mean, if coaches want you, they'll come and find you. But Caden, on the other hand, I know he's been talking to a couple coaches, and he's been sending out he's been sending out his times. My case was Coach B came and found me, but Caden's been sending out his times, talking to coaches, reaching out to them. So it kind of just depends on the coach. If the coach has been looking, or just it's coach to coach, I guess we'll say that.
What was that feeling like for you to kind of get that first text or phone call from a coach, and I mean that's what you set out to do when you decided to do cross country full time. So what was that like?
It felt pretty good. To be honest with you, I was very excited. I know that a lot of work has gone into it, and so it's satisfying to know. But it makes me work harder because I can't let up now. I've got coaches that expect me to be in shape next year, and I'm ready to work hard and get in shape for 8Ks now in college and 10Ks.
How'd you feel about this past weekend and how you did individually and how this team did?
I was very happy with everything that went down last weekend. That course, I PR'd every time I went there. It's actually where I ran my first ever race as a freshman. And so I always love going there. It's sentimental to me. And just seeing my teammates run hard and getting to the end of the race, kicking, and then finding out how well my teammates and myself did. We all, top 5. The top 4 of us, we medaled. We got top 20. And we just, we had a blast. I mean, it's so fun. We love that course. And I just, warming up on it, it just gets me hyped. I mean, a lot of people would think, you can't get hyped to go run 3 miles fast, but you can. I mean, it's
gotta be something.
It's I mean, race adrenaline is something else. I mean, I would put it up there with a post wrestling match or post football game adrenaline. It's something. And if you get in the right zone, I mean, you get chills. I mean, but especially at that course, it's good to go to and good to run there. And I PR'd every time, so that course has been a friend to me. And you run it in college. Actually, Marion ran there last week, and I've got a buddy who graduated last year who's running for them, and he says he loves it. And he ran a PR at that course as well, so I'll be back at that course next year. So.
Now, I was going to ask if there was any extra emotions crossing the finish line, thinking it was your last time, but obviously it won't be your last time there.
So. I know it's a good thing to look forward to as well. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, where do you really feel like this team's going to have to improve the most going into the next 5 weeks as you guys prepare to go to the state meet and try to win a state championship?
Just pushing harder at practice. I know that it is hard to go to practice after a long school day. I'm a senior. I've been doing it for 4 years. I'm guilty of it. I'll complain sometimes about going to practice, but when I get there, I'm like, let's do this, let's get this, let's work hard, and it'll be over with, and you'll feel accomplished after. And so just telling my teammates that and working through just our mindset, getting it to where we've got this, let's push through. We need to shift our mindset to more of that, as well as in races, just pushing ourselves until, we feel like we can't run anymore for a race at least. Not really during workouts. You want to kind of, you want to have some left over at the end of the week to race well. So, but just kind of pushing ourselves mentally and making sure that we're doing what we need to do to get better for not only ourselves but our teammates as well.
Listen, man, really appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Howlin with the Huskies.
Had a blast with it.
And good luck to you guys the rest of this year. Really look forward to seeing how things go for y'all, and then good luck to you as you continue your running career after your senior year this year.
Thank you.
It's going to do it for us here on Howlin with the Huskies. As always, thank you to Steakhouse of Helena for allowing us to be out here each and every Tuesday and keep you up to date with what is going on with Helena Athletics. We'll be back next week to recap the football game against Briarwood and start getting you ready for the next one.